Hello, DBI. It's your littlest admin, Khonsuview, and I'm actually here for an RP review requested by none other than Luke. This is the Moon and Sun versus the Lightning Dragon. This is a roleplay between Hypo and Mozen, who, if you don't know who those people are, it's our admin, our head RP admin and head admin, Luke, and Hypo is one of the members of the RP council, kind of like almost like mini admins in a way. This RP starts off very Dragon Ball Z-esque. Two people just run into each other in the middle of nowhere, which is actually one of my favorite ways to start an RP, just because you don't have to deal with the lead up time and, how did you guys meet up and what's the reason you're here? It's like, just get in there and get to the action. I liked Mozen's intro a little better because it spoke more to why he was there. Like, he's traveling across these mountains to get to the sanctuary, because he's carrying this giant monolith on his back, so that's the reason he's in the middle of the mountains lost. I did not read a prior roleplay to this, so I don't know if this is the start of his journey, the first we're hearing of it, or if Hypo, and also if Hypo was, if there was a previous roleplay of why he's in the mountain. I imagine it has something to do with the new technique that he's trying to learn, but I didn't go back to read. I would have liked to maybe see one extra line of like the reason why he'd been in the mountains for weeks, frosted over in ice and finally breaking free when someone says something to him. Like, kind of like this is, I don't know, maybe just a little more hint for the reader as to why that was happening. But sometimes with the way our role plays work, since they're such small episodes, sometimes if you don't read the previous one, you might be a little lost. And I wasn't completely lost, so I won't say it was bad. I just, I would have liked to know why he was in such deep meditation. Another thing I like about Mozen, I either like it or I hate it, is that he's blind. So he can't see, but he's obviously has extremely heightened senses. He's old because he's a Kaio, so he has probably had literally has had hundreds of years to hone his senses. So whenever he's talking to someone or winking in this RP, he always misses them, like looks past them, which would, might be something that a blind person would do if they're interacting with someone and trying to do the standard mannerisms, I guess, of a conversation. So it either is a great detail showing that, like, even though he's so well trained that even, like in fighting, he can walk and won't fall in a hole. Like, he knows where he's going in general, can sense powers and knows who people are based on those powers. Even I had a fight with him way back in the Proving with my character Taco. And so he can do all that. Like, he's basically has no its ability because he's so well trained. But so it makes me wonder, is that showing that his training is so well honed that his fighting technique and his movement and whatever can overcome that disability, but something so simple as just talking to someone isn't something he's learned? Or I always wonder, is this like a slight oversight on Mozen's part, on the writer's part, of like, shouldn't he I would think he'd be able to pinpoint someone's presence. If he's able to fight and go toe-to-toe with someone and block individual hits and, kicks hands and stuff like that, like, he can be precise. You'd think he'd be able to look someone in the eyes even though he can't see. But so either way, it's still a good thing. I've never been 100% sure on which way, I guess, the writer's going about it, but it is a cool little detail. I think Luke tricked me. I think he thought no one was going to review this log, but I think the real reason is he wanted me to read it because Mozen's trip with this giant monolith is to go to Yugen, who is another one of my characters, probably my favorite character to write, however busy with life. So I haven't had a lot of time to really put something down on paper that I want to. I've started a couple, but it just hasn't came out. But he's delivering a pillar, it sounds like. So I won't go into it because Yugen's not a part of this roleplay, but his whole thing he's part of the Pillar clan, and there's more details in his RPs if you wanted to see those. But I think that this isn't something that I've planned, so I don't know if Luke's gonna or Mosen's gonna give me some magical insight into it. The way he put it in his roleplay was like, oh, we've been saving this for him for a long time. So I'm interested in that. I don't know if it's something that he wants to collaborate with me on to get my thoughts. Like, hey, here's this cool thing. If we did speak about it before, I've forgotten. It's actually been that many months, I think, since I have role-played on my character, which I apologize for. It was maybe something soon. But back to these two. So they make up their excuse to meet, and they start to talk. So they start to talk about who they are, what they belong to, what they do. All through here, after he tells them like, hey, it's off that way if you want to find the sanctuary where Yugen is. And they have a short conversation about their different fighting techniques and what they're doing. And then it almost immediately goes into a fight. Again, here we are back to being DBZ-esque as we possibly can. I kind of would have liked to see them keep talking. Maybe like more prying into what the other one was doing, but I think one of the main excuses to start a role play on our channel is to get into the fight. And I won't go over the details of the fight entirely, but both was great, or the writing was great on both of the players' parts. So I was a little confused, and I tried to look at Hypo's profile for the thermal Ryu technique. I don't know if it's a new fighting style. I don't know if it's an actual technique, or maybe these are his training role plays, like his lead up into having that as an RP skill. But I didn't actually see it on. Maybe I missed it, but I didn't see it on his actual bio, his bio sheet. So, but I think. So in the beginning, they kind of start off the fight, and they're kind of like, hey, let's just test each other out. And the first thing I didn't like, I guess, although it's fine, I guess, because it's whatever the writer wants, but I thought it was a little odd, was when Mosen finally uses his awakening technique, which, if you don't know, basically makes everything grow really, really fast. It's a really cool technique. I loved it. I think it's pretty unique for our channel. I don't think I've ever seen something like it, at least in recent times. And the reason I think it's so cool is that not only is it a powerful technique, you're affecting the entire environment. I know that's one of the things that Luke really loves is whenever you're in a role play, it's always nice to, instead of it just being a one-on-one, for the and here it is down here when he's talking about the awakening. So when they're doing, whenever you're doing a fight, like it's usually character punches, other character punches, technique. It's really cool to see the environment come into play. It can be, that can be 50% or more of your post is basically saying like what happens. And they were in the mountains in the snow, maybe no trees. Well, it sounded like they descended down and whatever, so they're probably in the forest and whatnot. But even if they had been further up, like this is a technique that could literally just create an environment out of nowhere. I guess if there's seedlings, and I guess he could, even if he wanted to, he could carry a little pouch of seeds along, and boom, like they pop up out of the ground, and you've got a whole environment there. So it was cool in that way. The one thing I didn't like was that how much damage Hypo took from it, and maybe that was just part of speeding up the role play. This technique that he has, as it goes on, it sounds like part of the technique might be that he has to take damage, or like that he puts up a defense that wears out the opponent, so then he can counter. And I don't know if it's something that actually saps the other person's power. Like is he creating like a kind of like a negative presence that will take away, like drain someone faster, or if it's like he needs to take damage to get warmed up, because it kind of hinted at that, like that he needed this kind of damage before he could return the attack. But I wasn't sure if he was, well, it says thermal, like is he thermally absorbing this energy and then he can return it, or is it just he's gassing the other person and then he has the opportunity to fight them because they're weakened. So I'm not 100% sure if taking damage is part of the technique or not. It seems like it might have been, but either way, I'm kind of interested to see, I guess, a little more detail into it. He talks about using his speed, and Hypo does, and that's part of his, Thunder Dragon, that his first skill, or I don't know if you want to call it a skill, or his style that he learned from Raijin, but he was trying to hold back and not use it. He was trying to only use his thermal thing. And so, like, I think he did do that. But then when we see the speed of thunder come into play here in this part of the role play, I wasn't sure if that's just his latent ability coming out. Like, that this is how much, because like Mosen kind of speaks to it, like, oh, he's mastered Zanzoken. Like, he has speed no matter what he's doing, whether he's using this actual Thunder Dragon technique or not. So we saw it come through here a little bit. So I'm not sure if that was a nod at it, or if it's him saying like, oh, I still haven't fully gotten this thermal thing down, so like my Thunder Dragon's coming out, or maybe he's learned that he does need to combine them, like that. They talk about earlier, like the offense and the defense that you need to have. So it's cool. Definitely cool that the way this fight played out. And then Mosen, Hypo gets pretty beat up, and Mosen prepares to use a big, it almost looks like he's getting ready to throw a Kamehameha at him, the way it's written, this golden flame Kamehameha, right? And right before he's going to do it, he stops, because this is where it kind of comes back in, where I was saying like the fight seemed like it almost got away with like all the damage they were taking, and I feel like this is kind of what brought it back in, where Mosen's like, oh hey, like we're having fun. I'm not here to kill this guy in the middle of the woods. Like, I wanted to see what we're about, and they're both fighters, and Mosen especially, he's a martial artist, so he wanted to see what he was made out of, not kill this guy, especially when he's helping escort him to wherever. But I guess he, at the very end here, I believe, let me see if I can see it. Yeah, his body fell. So it sounds like he passed out, and like I guess Mosen you can skip ahead, or like maybe he just passes out for a moment. But it's kind of funny that Mosen, this is the guide for Mosen, and then here at the end, Mosen's knocked out his guide, or his guide's passed out. So I guess he's in the right direction, but he still doesn't have a guide. So it's kind of funny that, like the beginning started out like, hey man, help me out, where can I go? And then, I guess it'd be like you're halfway up Mount Everest and you knock out your Sherpa, but Mosen will find his way, I'm sure. Either way, there'll be some way, either Hypo will wake up, or, Mosen will just keep wandering. He'll sense it out eventually. Although he does say like, hope to meet you again, so maybe they're gonna separate here. It's kind of unsure. I guess Mosen probably can't carry a giant monolith and Hypo on his back, right? That'd just be too much. Yeah, so I thought it was great. There's not really I nitpicked a little thing or two, but I don't think there's anything that really could have been done differently. It was a well laid out role play, and I didn't overstay its welcome. Sometimes I think some people I know I said earlier I'd like to see them talk a little more detail into kind of like what they're doing and why they were there, kind of deal. But at the same time, I think it's better when role plays kind of move along, get to the point quickly, and I feel like this one didn't spend any time I don't know, messing around. So I liked that a lot. And I'm really excited to see where this is going with Yugen. And I still think this was a trick to get me to read this, but I guess I have to set up a date with Mr. Mosen. Thanks, guys.